There comes a moment, a quiet, powerful moment, when everything shifts. Not in the noise, not in the confrontation, not in the endless explanations you used to give, but in the silence. In that stillness where you finally choose to stop chasing, stop hoping, stop reaching for someone who made you feel like too much and not enough at the same time. That moment right there, that's when he finally starts remembering you. See, people don't usually miss you when you're always available, when you're always the first to text back, always showing up, always understanding, even when they don't deserve it. They take it for granted, not because they're evil, but because familiarity breeds blindness. And when someone becomes used to your presence, they start to believe it will always be there. They forget the value behind your consistency. They stop hearing your voice, they stop seeing your heart. But the minute you stop showing up, that's when the weight of your absence starts to settle in. You don't even have to say a word. You don't have to send a goodbye message. You don't need closure. Your energy pulling back speaks louder than anything you could have ever said. That's when it begins. He starts to feel the space you used to fill. He starts to notice the silence where your support used to live. He remembers the comfort of your words, the way you checked in, the way you made him feel like he mattered, even when he gave you crumbs. You see, the day you stop chasing is not the day you lose him. It's the day he begins to realize he lost you. Because now he has time to think, time to process what it meant to have someone who never gave up, someone who chose him even when he made it difficult to love him. He starts to reflect not just on who you were, but on who he was when you were with him. And more often than not, that reflection doesn't look good. That's when it hits. You were the one who stayed when you should have walked away, the one who tried when you were exhausted. And now that you've reclaimed your peace, your silence begins to echo louder than any of the arguments, louder than the tears, louder than the begging he thought he'd always hear. The absence becomes undeniable. And here's the truth. Your value didn't increase when you left. It was always there. He just couldn't see it while you were pouring into him. But now he feels it. Now he misses what he didn't know how to appreciate. That's what happens when you stop chasing. That's the day he starts missing you. And you didn't have to force it. You just had to choose yourself. It doesn't happen right away. No. At first, he doesn't even notice you're gone. He thinks it's just space. He tells himself you're just being dramatic or emotional. He expects you to come back like you always did. That's what he's used to. Your loyalty, your forgiveness, your heart that kept giving even when it was breaking. But this time is different. This time, you're not reacting. You're not explaining yourself. You're just not there. And that silence becomes louder with every passing day. At first, he distracts himself. He surrounds himself with noise, with people, with routines, maybe even someone new, but none of it fills the void. He tries to convince himself that he's fine, that he didn't need you like that. But something keeps tugging at him. Memories, flashbacks, your laugh, your words, the way you used to understand things he never had to say. He starts to realize that all those little things weren't little at all. They were rare, they were love, and they're gone. See, you never truly miss someone until life gives you a reason to pause, until the distractions die down and you're left with your own thoughts. That's when the mind starts replaying the moments you used to share, the quiet car rides, the late night talks, the way your presence made things feel lighter, even on heavy days. And it's not just the love you gave, it's the peace you brought. That deep soul kind of peace that's hard to find, even harder to replace. He begins to understand the cost of his pride, because he thought you'd wait. He thought your heart would be his safety net forever. But now, your silence is forcing him to reflect. And when a man has time to reflect in quiet moments, he sees what he pushed away. He sees what he mishandled. And that's when the missing becomes real. Not a passing thought, not just a feeling of nostalgia, but a deep ache. An ache for someone he didn't appreciate when he had the chance. It's not your absence that hurts him most. It's the realization that your presence was never guaranteed. That kind of love, that kind of loyalty, it doesn't come around twice. And now he knows, not because you told him, not because you tried to prove your worth, but because you removed your energy and it exposed the truth. That's when he finally starts to miss you, not because you're gone, but because he's finally waking up to what you truly meant. It's strange how the moment he starts missing you isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with fireworks or a breakdown. It sneaks up on him quietly when he's alone in a room full of people, or lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, trying to ignore the emptiness he swore he could handle. That's when it hits him. You're not coming back. And for the first time, he doesn't feel in control anymore. But he starts remembering the things he overlooked, the effort you gave, the patience you showed, the way you always tried to understand what even he couldn't explain. He remembers how you used to read his silence, how you always knew when he needed space and when he needed love. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking for something real, something honest. And he couldn't give it then, not because you weren't worth it, but because he didn't think you'd ever walk away for good. Now he's stuck watching everything unfold without you. He sees your growth. He sees how peaceful you look without him. He hears about you through mutual friends, or maybe watches you from afar on social media. And that quiet confidence you carry now, that glow you have without needing to explain anything, bothers him more than he'll ever admit. Because that's what he took for granted. That's what he thought he'd always have access to. The thing about missing someone isn't just about losing the person. It's about watching them become everything you claimed they couldn't be without you. That's where the pain truly begins. When he realizes he wasn't the one who built you up. You were always the one who carried him, supported him, stood in his corner, and now you're doing it for yourself without needing to prove a thing to him. That realization, it humbles him, it softens his pride, but by the time he's ready to admit it, you've already built a life where his absence doesn't hurt anymore. And that's when the missing becomes a regret, not a lesson, not a second chance, just a quiet truth he'll have to live with. It doesn't happen instantly, but one day he wakes up and realizes he doesn't know you anymore, not the woman you've become. He knew the version of you that waited for him, the version that kept making excuses for his lack of effort, the version that shrunk herself just to keep the peace. But this version of you, the one who walks with purpose, who no longer explains her worth, who smiles without needing validation, that version is foreign to him. And that truth stings more than the silence you left behind. He remembers the way you used to show up, always answering his calls, always being available, always putting his needs before your own. You made it easy for him to take you for granted because you were consistent in a world that was inconsistent for him. But he mistook your loyalty for weakness. He mistook your patience for permission. And he thought, deep down, that no matter what he did or didn't do, you'd always be there. But people change, and you did. Not because you stopped loving him, but because you started loving yourself. That's what he didn't anticipate, that your growth would come from his absence. That the very thing he feared, losing control, would be the catalyst that made you unstoppable. Now he scrolls through your pictures and sees a confidence he never bothered to water. He hears your voice in interviews, videos, or from the people who still mention your name, and it's calm, it's firm, it's powerful. It doesn't shake like it used to when you were pleading to be understood. It doesn't soften in the way it did when you were afraid to be alone. You've become someone even he couldn't imagine, and that scares him because he lost you before he even realized who you were becoming. He wanted the woman who stayed, but what he truly misses is the woman who outgrew him, the woman who no longer needs closure, the woman who became a stranger to the man who thought she'd never leave. There comes a moment, quiet, unannounced, when everything he ran from finally starts to catch up with him. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And those whispers come at the most unexpected times. Maybe it's when he sees your favorite song on a playlist. Maybe it's the scent of your perfume on a stranger walking by. Maybe it's just a random Tuesday when nothing is really happening, and out of nowhere, you hit not just the memory of you, but the weight of what he lost. You see, men don't always process emotions the way you think they do. They distract. They deflect. They move on quickly, not always because they've healed, but because they're avoiding the confrontation with themselves. And in the beginning, it seems like they're unaffected. They're out laughing, living like nothing changed. But time has a way of pulling the truth out of people. And when the distractions fade, when the nights get quiet, when there's no one left to impress, that's when the real comes knocking. He begins to remember how steady you were, how safe you made him feel even when he was unstable. He thinks about how you knew how to read his silence, how you stood by him when even he didn't know how to stand by himself. He remembers the softness you carried, not as a weakness, but as a strength he misunderstood. And suddenly, he starts to miss not just you, but the way he was when he was with you. Because that's what people don't tell you. Sometimes it's not just the person they miss. It's the version of themselves they were when they were with you. Maybe you made him feel like a better man. Maybe your belief in him gave him strength he couldn't find on his own. And now without you, he has to face the reality of who he really is, and it doesn't feel as good. But here's the deeper truth. He didn't realize your presence was shaping him. He didn't realize the way you loved him was healing things inside of him he never had the language for. And now that you're gone, he doesn't know how to get that feeling back. So he reaches for substitutes, temporary attention, casual conversations, surface level distractions. But none of them feel like you. None of them give him the peace your presence brought. It's not that he didn't care. It's that he cared too late. And now he sits in the silence of his own choices, wishing he had seen you clearer when you were standing right in front of him. There's a strange moment that happens in the aftermath of walking away from someone who never truly valued you. At first, they feel powerful, detached, almost invincible, like they made the right call, like they've dodged something heavy. They might even tell themselves, she was too much, too emotional, too invested. And they convince themselves they've escaped a burden. But life has a way of catching up with a man's soul, especially when he's not honest with himself. And that's when the turning point begins, not with drama or a closure, but with subtle, unsettling realizations. It begins when he meets someone else, someone new, someone who's supposed to be exciting and different. And for a while, he might enjoy the distraction, but then the cracks begin to show. Because what he's really searching for isn't just a new connection. It's to recreate a feeling he never fully appreciated when he had it. The comfort of being understood without having to speak. The warmth of being accepted without performance. The peace of being loved without conditions. And here's the part that hurts him the most. He starts to realize that what he once ran from was exactly what he now craves. You see, he didn't want the depth back then because depth demanded accountability. He didn't want your love because your love required him to rise higher. He wasn't ready to be that version of himself. So he chose the easy road, the shallow waters, the surface level flings, because those spaces didn't ask him to grow. But what no one told him is that once you've experienced real love, real connection, it ruins you for anything less. And now, every person he meets, every conversation he has, every empty night filled with noise but no meaning, it all reminds him of what he lost. He starts comparing, and that's where the grief begins. Not the kind of grief that comes all at once, but the kind that sneaks in slowly, like water seeping through a crack. It shows up when he realizes the new woman doesn't know how to calm his storms the way you did. It shows up when she doesn't remember the little things you used to care about without being asked. It shows up when her silence feels cold, not safe like yours used to. That's when he truly starts to miss you. Not just the memories, but the energy you carried, the grounding presence you gave, the way you loved him even when he didn't make it easy. And the guilt, it begins to eat away at him. Because deep down, he knows you didn't walk away because you stopped loving him. You walked away because you got tired of proving your worth to someone who should have never questioned it. And now the tables have turned. The man who once felt so sure, so ready to let go, is now the one haunted by what ifs. What if he had listened more? What if he had chosen you instead of his ego? What if he had fought harder instead of taking you for granted? But those questions don't bring you back. They just sit in the quiet corners of his mind, reminding him of the woman he let walk away and the man he could have become if he had only chosen love over fear. You see, there comes a point when a man realizes he is no longer in control of his emotions. After all the bravado, after all the convincing himself that he's made the right choice, after the ego-driven decisions that led him to let you walk away, he's left with something deeper, something undeniable. It's the silence, the absence, the void that he thought was filled with freedom, but now feels like a weight. He finds himself surrounded by people, perhaps even in a new relationship, but none of it matters because deep down, he knows what he had with you was different. It was real. Now he begins to reflect, to replay everything in his mind. And that's when the truth hits. He starts to recognize the impact you had on his life. You were never just a temporary figure in his world. You were a force. You were someone who made him feel seen, understood, and accepted in a way he never knew he needed. But when he let you go, he was not prepared for the emptiness that would follow. He didn't know that the space you occupied was a space of love, a space of growth, a space of possibility. And now that space is vacant. He starts to realize that the life he thought he could build without you is one that's incomplete. When a man begins to realize this, he becomes conflicted. There's pride that holds him back, the part of him that doesn't want to admit he was wrong, the part of him that wants to believe he's still in control. But there's also vulnerability, a raw awareness that he's made a mistake that may not have an easy fix. And in that moment, something begins to shift inside of him. The toughness, the walls, the defenses, all of it starts to crack. It's not the loud, dramatic realization you might imagine, but rather the slow, painful understanding that he has lost something he didn't appreciate until it was gone. He starts to miss your presence in his life. He starts to miss the way you supported him, the way you stood by him when things weren't easy. He remembers the way you made him laugh, the way you could read his moods without him having to say a word, the way you were a constant, a source of stability in his chaotic world. And as he remembers, He feels the weight of the void you left behind. It's in the quiet moments when the distractions fade and all he has left is the memory of what he once had. That's when the truth settles in. He misses you. He misses you because he knows deep down that no one will ever fill the space you occupied. But here's the kicker. He may never tell you this. His pride will continue to get in the way. He'll continue to hide behind excuses and justifications. He may even try to convince himself that he's fine without you. But in reality, he's living with the consequences of his actions, knowing that you were the one who truly understood him, the one who loved him with a depth that others cannot. And now he's left with nothing but memories and regrets. The truth is, it's only a matter of time before he realizes that the life he's been living without you is far less fulfilling than the life he could have had if he had truly valued you in the first place. The moment he starts missing you is the moment he begins to question everything he thought he knew about love. It's the moment when the reality of his mistake hits him harder than anything else. And while he may not admit it, he knows the truth. You were the one he needed, and now it's too late. The clock has run out, and he's left with nothing but the painful truth that he had something precious and let it slip away. There comes a time when he begins to look around and realize that what he thought was a new beginning is in fact just a hollow replacement. He thought he could move on quickly, fill the emptiness you left behind with someone or something else. But none of it brings him the peace or joy he had when he was with you. And that right there is a wake-up call. It's a painful realization that you can't replace something real with a mere distraction. He might begin to notice how disconnected he feels with the people around him. The conversations are shallow, the moments are fleeting, and he's never really present. He could be surrounded by people, but none of them will make him feel understood the way you did. That's when he starts to question everything, his choices, his decisions, his priorities. The freedom he thought he gained from losing you feels like a cage, and the distractions he sought out to numb the pain only deepen it. The truth starts to sink in, slowly, bit by bit. He sees how those moments, those simple, quiet moments you shared, meant more than he realized. The times when you were just sitting together, talking about life or doing nothing at all. Those were the moments that shaped the connection. It was in the silence and the vulnerability where the real magic happened. But now all of that is gone. And in its place is a sense of longing, of emptiness that no amount of distractions can fill. It's not that he didn't appreciate you in the moment. It's that he took you for granted. He didn't recognize what he had until it was no longer there. And now, as he goes through life without you, he begins to realize the depth of that mistake. He starts comparing his current situation to the life he had with you and comes to a harsh conclusion. No matter how much time passes, no matter how many other people come and go, there's no replacing what you two shared. It wasn't just a relationship, it was a bond. It was real. And now he's left with nothing but the echoes of what used to be. But here's the thing, the regret doesn't hit him right away. It's a slow burn. At first, he convinces himself that he's fine. He convinces himself that he's moved on and that he doesn't need you anymore. He might even get involved with someone new trying to fill the void. But deep down, he knows that the new relationship is just a Band-Aid, a temporary fix to the much deeper wound of losing you. It might look like he's fine on the surface, but internally, there's a storm raging. He knows it. And the people around him probably sense it too. Eventually, he'll realize that no matter how hard he tries, nothing compares to what he had with you. The new relationships, the distractions, they just aren't the same. He starts to miss the depth of the connection you had, the way you communicated without words, the way you understood each other's needs without needing to ask. That's when he begins to understand that the relationship you two shared was unique, and there's no one else who can replicate it. This realization doesn't come with a grand gesture or a sudden change of heart. It's something that unfolds gradually, He may begin to miss you in the small, everyday moments. He might think about the way you smiled at him when he needed reassurance, or how you calmed his anxieties with just a simple touch. The little things that he used to take for granted are now the things he cherishes in his memories. And that's when the truth becomes unavoidable. He starts to understand that he was the one who let go, but it wasn't you who gave up. You moved on, yes, but not because you didn't care. You moved on because you knew your worth. You knew that if someone was meant for you, they wouldn't let you walk away. And now, as time passes, he's beginning to see that he didn't fight for you. He didn't value you in the way he should have, and now he's facing the consequences of his action. And this is the moment when the shift happens within him. He can no longer pretend that everything is okay. He knows deep down that you were the one who brought out the best in him. He knows you were the one who truly saw him, who truly loved him. And now that you're gone, he's left to deal with the consequences of his inability to appreciate you while he had the chance. The love he once thought he could live without is the very love he now wishes he hadn't lost. People look at your life to see the truth that was embedded within daily. You were the one person that was most likely to make the whole world better. The regret is heavy and it's painful, but it's a painful lesson, one that will stay with him for the rest of his life. He will always remember the day he let you walk away and the days that followed when he realized just how much he needed you. It will be a lesson learned that always were, and now all he has is the memory of what could have been. There is a profound moment in every person's life when they realize what they lost only after it's gone. And for him, that moment comes when he starts to see the gap, the absence that you once filled. For so long, he was convinced that his life was fine without you. He was convinced that he was stronger, better, and perhaps even free from the weight of the relationship. But as time goes on, that illusion begins to crumble, and he faces a harsh truth. He wasn't really free. He wasn't really stronger. He was simply distracted, masking his true feelings with the hope that the void could be filled with other people, things, or pursuits. In the quietest moments of his life, when he's alone with his thoughts, it starts to hit him, the depth of what he lost. It's not just the small things you did for him, the kindness you showed, or even the physical presence you brought into his life. It's the emotional connection. It's the shared experiences, the trust, and the love that flowed so naturally between you both. Those are the things that no one else can replace. Those are the things that deep down he knows he let go of when he let you walk away. At first, he might try to distract himself. He might immerse himself in work and hobbies and anything that will keep his mind off of you. But distraction can only last for so long. It's like a temporary bandage over a wound that needs real healing. He can only go so long pretending he's okay when his heart knows the truth. And sooner or later, that truth starts to pierce through the walls he's built around himself. The absence you left behind is undeniable, and no amount of distractions or new relationships can fill that space. It hits him when he's laying in bed at night, when the silence becomes overwhelming. It hits him when he's out with friends and he catches himself laughing but feels something missing. It hits him when he's out in the world, surrounded by new faces, and yet the only face he truly wants to see is yours. There are countless moments when it becomes clear he's not whole without you. He begins to realize how much he took for granted, how much he missed in the relationship that he didn't see at the time. But this realization doesn't come in one sudden, dramatic moment. It happens in pieces, in layers. He'll think back to the smallest details, those moments when you'd hold his hand and everything felt right, when you would share a laugh, a look, and without words you understood each other. It's those moments that he starts to miss the most, the intimacy, the connection, the way you made him feel seen, heard, and valued. And as much as he wants to move forward, he realizes that those things can't be replaced. The relationships he tries to form after you just don't measure up. They might fill a moment or provide a distraction, but they can never replace the depth of what you two had. He might start to reach out, testing the waters to see if there's still something there, if there's a chance he could somehow rekindle what he lost. He might send a message or try to initiate a conversation, but what he doesn't realize is that it's too late. The door is already closed. You've moved on, and not out of anger or resentment, but out of necessity. You moved on because you knew your worth. You knew you couldn't wait around for him to realize what he had until it was too late. And that's when he's forced to confront the cold, hard truth. No matter how much he wants to turn back time, no matter how many times he tries to fill that gap, the truth is that he let you go. And once you're gone, you can't be replaced and you can't be found again. That realization hits him like a wave. It's painful, it's overwhelming, but it's necessary. He has to understand the magnitude of what he lost to grow, to change, and to evolve. But this moment of realization is also one of growth. It's a moment where he understands that you weren't the problem. You weren't the one who made the mistakes. It was his actions, his inability to appreciate you when he had you, that led to this moment. And this realization is a stepping stone, not only to understanding what he lost, but also to understanding what he needs to do differently moving forward. Because he might not tell you this. He may never get the chance to express his regret to you, but deep down, he knows the truth. You were the one. And now, all he has are the memories of what could have been. The sadness that fills him is the weight of knowing that he didn't fight for something worth fighting for, that he didn't value you the way you deserved. And while he can't change the past, he can carry that lesson forward, knowing that it's not always about getting another chance. Sometimes it's about realizing that the real growth comes from accepting what's lost and learning from it. That's when the impact of your absence is felt the most. When he finally admits to himself the depth of the mistake he made, the depth of the love he let slip away. And even though that realization is painful, it's a necessary step in his journey, because it's only through this pain that he can understand the truth that he never truly let go of you. He just let the fear and the distractions convince him it was easier to walk away than to face the vulnerability of truly cherishing what was in front of him. And now, he must live with that truth, whether or not he can ever tell you. When he begins to miss you, it's more than just a passing thought or fleeting feeling. It's a profound, undeniable realization that can no longer be ignored. It takes him back to the times when everything felt so easy, when he could simply look at you and know that you understood him. It was in the simplicity of the moments you shared, in the conversations that went beyond words, in the way you could communicate without even speaking. These are the things he starts to miss, the small, everyday connections that he never truly appreciated while he had them. He didn't realize how much you brought to his life until that space between you grew and the silence became deafening. He might try to convince himself that he doesn't miss you. He might tell himself that he's fine, that he's moved on, but deep down, he knows better. The truth settles in slowly and painfully. The more time that passes, the clearer it becomes. No matter how much he tries to move on, he can't forget you. He can't forget the way your presence filled his life, the way you made him feel understood and loved, the way you made him feel understood and loved. Even when he's surrounded by other people, he's reminded of how different it was with you. He starts to see the gaps that no one else can fill. The reality sets in. No one else can give him what you did. No one else can replace the connection that you shared. As the days go by, it becomes more apparent to him that he has been living with a false sense of independence. He thought he could walk away from the relationship and be perfectly fine. He believed that he could continue with his life as if nothing had changed. But now he realizes that He's been carrying around a piece of himself that's missing. And that missing piece is you. The relationship you had, whether it was good or bad at the time, has left an indelible mark on his heart. And no matter how much time passes, he will never be able to erase that. He might try to convince himself that moving on is the right thing, but deep inside, he knows that the loss is real. He can never fully recover from it because what you gave him was something irreplaceable.